Boom. There we go. Let me turn down my music real quick. There we go. Yeah, welcome. Welcome. Let me know how the sound levels are. I had to adjust some mic settings. So like I put a compressor on, I put a noise gate on there. So we'll kind of see how this goes. But welcome to the stream. This time we're going to be doing Rebelle, Rebelle 8 Pro. We're going to be doing a contemporary portrait. We'll talk about what that means, or at least what I think that means when I hear contemporary art. Like, it has infinity different definitions, but we'll talk about it. But yeah, sit back, relax. We got some upgrades to the stream. A lot of the stuff is kind of behind the scenes, but there's a few things here in just a second you're going to notice. And I promise you'll notice it because it's very drastically different, but it looks way cleaner. And also it's, you get to see more of the screen, which is cool. Mert, what's up, my friend? Welcome. Hello. So yeah, I got a dual chat set up. So we are live on both YouTube and Twitch, and everyone gets the whole experience. So there's no missing out, depending on whichever one you like. Whether you prefer YouTube or Twitch, we are live on both. And we're cranking out some high bit rate now. We got fiber internet, so we're sending a very intense signal. Yeah, this part's still clunky, but just wait till we go to the next screen. It's going to show off all sorts of stuff, all sorts of fun times. But welcome. It's going to be a fun one. I'm excited about this one. I've been wanting to do more of a kind of traditional style painting in Rebelle for a while, but with Magic and the other client stuff, it's been very kind of illustrative, more high render. Yeah, a lot of like round brush work, which is fine. You know, it's good to get that practice in, but I need something a little, I don't know, more energetic. I need something a little more chaotic. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to do some contemporary portrait work. I'm already working on one. We're going to do some edits to it. We're going to kind of dig in and really define what we mean by contemporary portrait, because there's some old, like, neoclassical, classical realism, figurative painting. There's all that stuff. But how does like a contemporary portrait, if you were to go to an art show and on the bill, you see the artist and it says a contemporary painter, like, what does that mean? It has to do with art history and stuff, but we'll just do the bare bones version of what I think it means, at least, because it's all open to interpretation, right? Broken in the dual chat, just shows on screen. Okay, so that's the other thing. All my emojis have kind of updated, because now that we're going on Twitch kind of reactivated stuff. But I'm using something called 7TV, and 7TV combines the better Twitch TV, franker faces, and 7TV. These are all three like different deals. So if you have that installed as an extension, now you're going to see more custom emojis, but it does manipulate how emojis work on the YouTube side, and I need to look at that. So yes, I'm going to open up a notepad document right now because there's stuff I need. And we're also streaming at a much higher bit rate right now. Normally I would stream at about 5,000 kilobytes a second. Now we're up to like 7,500 to 8,000. So the clarity should be better. Text should look sharper. Whenever we see the brush work, you should be able to see it a little more. And plus, games are going to look better whenever we're actually playing through high motion games. That stuff should look better as well. But it does change how stuff works on the back end. So who knows? And I got new noise gates and compressors on the microphone. So yeah, there's a lot of like little things that are happening at every angle. But hopefully it's going to make for a more cohesive kind of tight-knit package, which is the goal. You know, make it better for you guys to watch and make it more enjoyable. Take a look. Yeah, so, yeah, it's going to be a fun one. Nguyen! Hello. So good to see everybody. Great to see you guys. But yeah, we got dual chat now. We got We got that, but let me click it over here. Or first, let me take that note for boom. Check emoji support on Twitch and YouTube. Okay. It's crisper, like, okay, cool. So the bitrate's higher. Bitrate is higher all around. So I wanted it to be less stuffy, I guess. Even though, ironically, I have taken allergy medicine today because I am more stuffy physically. But yeah, I wanted the sound to sound better, the visuals to look a little crisper. If we're going to be doing this, let's do it. You know what I mean? If we're going to be doing the live streams, if we're really going to embrace this side of things, you should make it a little better. Just on the up and up. So let's move over to Rebelle. And here is it's a bit much. Okay. Let me do this real quick. Let me go filter, attack, release. Let me put that up to 300 milliseconds. Let's hold it for that. And the attack time. Close threshold, open threshold. So that's a little bit different. So yeah, I'm going to be tweaking the knobs a little bit, doing the sliders, doing that type of thing. So let me know. Also, let me pop this down a little bit. There we go. So let's move this over. We move that over here. Oh, and see, it's right next to the PC fan. So let me adjust this again. Filter. There we go. Yep. Yeah, because we are right next to the PC, so. It's weird because since the mic moves, whenever we start painting, we have to like face this direction. The mic moves that way, so. Yeah, and I have my microphone right up against the PC, so you're probably getting a little bit of that feedback. Okay, cool. So that should be good. So let's kick over to this side right here. So let's do this old transition. This transition in 3, 2, 1. Booyaka. There it is. So yeah, we have a lot more real estate. We are, we're not blocking everything. I'm down here, but you can still see through. Everything's going to work a little better. It's going to work a little bit better. And this is actually the setup we're going to have for the gaming streams and stuff too. So it's a little cleaner. We got the chat down at the bottom. So now we can still see everything. Everyone can still see chat, but it's not blocking. It's not taking up a huge chunk. It's down. So yeah, it's almost like I do this for a living. That's the goal. Let me move that. There we go. All right. There we go. So, contemporary portraits. Let's talk about that. What does that even mean? So, whenever I hear contemporary, the first thing my mind goes to is abstract. Not abstract as in you can't tell what it is, but abstract as in the details don't quite matter because you're not heavily rendering. So perfect example is the background here. This is just messy brushstrokes with colors that I like, and that's it. We're going to refine it a little bit. We're going to make it look a little bit better. But I do have some examples of a few painters that whenever I think of contemporary portrait people, like my good friend Daniel Ibanez, of course. If you don't follow Mamboban, you should, because he's a genius. Daniel's like exceptional. He's been a high school art teacher for damn near 20 years, I think. But his stuff is unbelievable. But you can see the rendering's not very, it's not tightly rendered. It doesn't have to be, because it's about the emotion, it's about the expression. But you can see the brushwork, you can see, I mean, it's very evocative, right? And then the same thing with Rob Ray. Rob is funny. He's one of my favorite magic artists as far as like the mix of this kind of painterly stuff that he'll just kind of get away with and leave alone, but does do a higher render on his focal points. So you can actually see like the muscles in the back and stuff, you know what I mean? But you can, of course, still see paint strokes. Like, I think this is on oil. He usually does oil on board or oil on canvas. And then the person we're kind of mimicking today is Mike Carson. And especially I really like, because this reminds me of Ashley Wood a little bit. Ashley Wood doesn't do a lot of portraits necessarily, but his style is very thick, you know, thick paint strokes, but kind of almost a glaze to where you can see the underpainting. And you can even see that with like the skin tones and stuff. And you see little hits of red, but like the hand, for instance, not extremely rendered, but you can tell there's the wrist, here's forearm coming into the wrist, here are the fingers, the cast shadow of the fingers, but it's abstracted. It's like once removed from reality. Yeah, and I mean, contemporary literally just means modern art. But I have found that but this type of background, by the way, is kind of what I'm going to go for, to kind of play with the warm versus cool type of stuff, which you can see here as well. So yeah, Mike is super good, of course, award-winning portrait artist, I think. But like with Rob Ray, the little more rendered style stuff, so it's a nice mix. And then Daniel's work is just superb. So that's kind of who we're channeling today. That's kind of who we're kind of going for, okay? So got that. Let me move this over and then minimize it because I don't need it right now. Okay. What software do you use? So for painting, so I use a whole bunch of stuff for painting, and then the software that we just had to show the references and stuff, that's called Pure Ref. It's totally free. They do take donations, which I recommend, but that is where I can put all the images that I use as like a mood board or a reference board. I can put those there and then just sort through them that way, put some notes, you know, and kind of do it like that. There's also some cool stuff to where you can just make things values. But yeah, that way I can just have it on a separate monitor. If I need to look at something or try to like get some inspiration on how to do a technique, I can go back to my reference board and be like, okay, that's how they did that. That's how they did that. But today we're using Rebelle as far as painting, but I have so many programs that I use. I mean, Krita and Clip and PaintStorm Studio, which by the way is on a Humble Bundle sale right now. PaintStorm Studio, Realistic Paint Studio, Poser, which is kind of, that's a throwback, because Poser used to be the way I would make 3D models pose around, because that's what it was. You take little mannequins, or now they have like actual characters, and then you compose them and then set up a camera and export your image. But this was 15 years ago. This was like bleeding edge. It's during the time of like Lightwave. If any of you guys even know what that is. Maya was always around, but like Lightwave was kind of a precursor to what we think of as like Blender now. There was a lot of stuff like that. But yeah, Poser's still kicking. They're on like version 12. You get that on the Humble Bundle as well. And I have Poser 12, and I don't think I've ever installed it. I don't think I've installed it. But I need to, because it'd be nice to have like a little mannequin program that way I could just like, hey, let me try this pose. Does it look natural? Where could I put the camera? Let's do that. Bring that into a painting program and then work from there, you know. As my contemporary, yes. So that's a good point as well. And I mean, I will never not take an opportunity to bring up John Singer Sargent or Anders Zorn. Those are kind of my two guys. They personify that through and through. It's funny I didn't have a John Singer Sargent up on my mood board, but I just think of him as kind of the like legitimately the greatest of all time. It's just the way it's like what Frank Frazetta did for fantasy art. You know, I could maybe find some that I have more of an affinity towards, like more contemporary people or whatever. But like Frazetta invented the way we think about those type of paintings. Like they've existed before, but never quite like that. And then after Frazetta, everybody was a Frazetta knockoff. You know, hell, I think some days I'm a Frazetta knockoff, because everything I learned about painting, I learned from that. I learned from studying his stuff and doing master studies. And then you take that into your own thing. But that, I guess, is actually what contemporary painting is there used to be in like modern art, and this is how I would differentiate those two specifically. So modern art rejects the past. It's like, we don't need that freaking underpainting crap. We don't need the you know, Fibonacci sequence. We don't need any rule of thirds. We're getting rid of all of it. We're modern, man. We don't need any of that. Everything that came before us is lame. Now we're awesome. That's kind of the mentality of modern art. I think someone like a Jackson Pollock would be a pretty good analogy for that. Like, hey, I don't care. My composition all deals with color and the craziness of what you see, and everyone sees it different, and some people hate it, a few people love it, but this is what I do. That, in my opinion, is modern art. Contemporary art, instead of pushing away the fundamentals and pushing away the people that came before, you're embracing what came before. So like, you're doing, you know, a Waterhouse, you're doing, you know, Dean Cornwell, you know, Frank Frazetta, anyone that came before you, you're embracing that, like Raphael and Caravaggio. You're bringing all that to it, but you're painting in a modern way, whether it's through digital or using pigments that maybe didn't even exist back then, but using it in that type of material. That's what I think. So technically what I'm doing is a figurative portrait. This is a figurative. It's of a figure, but it's kind of the general impression, you know, through Impressionism, of what the figure is, or what they feel like, or what their attitude is. We're sprinkling in some classic stuff. We're bringing in the modern and contemporary. It's kind of this mishmash. Everyone has their own voice on it, but I think that's what makes it really cool, right? Did I attend? I did attend art school. I did. So I went to art college, or Artelier, in 2004 until about early 2007. And then I dropped out. I said deuces and I left. So I am, I guess, like classically trained, because we did the life drawings, we did still lifes, we did hours and hours of that type of stuff. We would go out, we would do on plein air painting. We would learn all of the ways the old masters did. We would limit ourselves to limited palettes. We would you would just exercise. It's basically, it was a gymnasium for 3 years. You'd go to this place, and like, you know, normal college classes, they're maybe either 45 minutes long or maybe like an hour and 30 minutes long, depending on if it's a seminar, or like if you're going and they're doing some form of like speaking, or, you know, is it a lab? You know, consider it a lab. You have a little bit more time. All of our classes were about 4.5 hours long. Like, you would show up at 8 and you weren't leaving till noon or 1. and that was one session, and you would go 3 to 4 times a week. It's a whole different animal. So yeah, I am art school trained, as it were. But I got my start way back when, you know, looking at Spider-Man comic books and Spawn and all that stuff. I loved comics, so yeah, and went and evolved into the atelier setting, and then from there started doing the digital stuff after like a 12-year break from art school. Then I came back and then decided, hey, no, I should probably do this thing because I'm still okay at it. And yeah, ever since 2019, it's been off to the races, doing pro stuff. Do I have any of my art back then? Oh man, maybe. Oh man, I need to ask my mom. I know she has shoe boxes full of stuff. Oh, that'd be super embarrassing. Hell, I'm embarrassed to look at stuff I did in like 2020. So like, Lord knows what my 1996 10-year-old self was drawn on like notebook paper. You know what I mean? But you got to start. Everyone starts at the same place. I think everyone starts stickmen, and then you kind of put bigger arms on the stickmen, and you know what I mean? And then you go and learn at the different pace. So yeah, it's fun. That is funny. I know I have some stuff from like 2016 whenever I started being like, maybe I should go back to the art thing. And they are bad, guys. Oof. They are rough. They are like last page of DeviantArt. You know, no bueno. No bueno. But we're a little bit better now, so that's nice. Here, I'm gonna open this. I'm gonna mute the mic real quick and open up this generic Coke Zero. There we go. I'm going to move this over because this is very like fizzy and bubbly, and I don't want the bubbles to catch onto the mic. Oh God. All right, class, come on in. It's like, you know, the things in movies and stuff to where the character goes back to their family, and the family is like, all right, here's our summer vacation trip. Everyone sit on the couch and we're going to watch the PowerPoint of it, the slideshow. That's what I'm going to do. I'm gonna be like, all right, kids, let's sit. Let's take a look at my really bad Photoshop art from circa 2000 whatever. All of you are screaming, no, let me out. I hate all of this. Alexander, what's up, my friend? Ixie, hello. Hey, hopefully you guys are digging the chat down at the bottom. I want to make sure you guys the names are up in the big lights, you know? Oh, and as you can see, I'm recording a time lapse within Rebelle because now, you know, since I'm doing streaming and stuff, I might as well record this. That way I can put it on social media. We can get them socials, you know? So what are we doing? So here's the thing. I like, and also another thing, when I think of contemporary portraits, I think of, did I put that right there? Okay, cool. I think of messy, kind of blocky brushwork. So I don't know why my brain goes to here, but I think of a palette knife. You know how a palette knife, you'll just load the knife with really thick oil or acrylic or whatever you're using, and then you go and you scrape, and it makes this like jagged edge. My mind goes there when I think of like, I'm going to make a contemporary portrait. It's stuff like this. These little accidents that happen to where like you kind of paint over it a little bit, but it's a little crummy looking. You know what I mean? Like it didn't get all of it, but it, you know, but I like that because once again, once you zoom out, it's way more, I don't know, enthusiastic or like energetic. There's something to it, you know. Moving up in the world. Yes. So I really like Rebelle's time-lapse deal because it's not very big. The time-lapse file is not very big. So Clip Studio has one, and those files can get a little larger, but Rebelle's is really good. I think the way it works is it takes a snapshot every like 2 seconds or every 1 second. And if you haven't made a mark in a while, it pauses automatically. So like you can literally see how right here it's the pause button. But then whenever I make a stroke, like I'll choose a color and then I'll make a stroke. You can see it look red. And then it goes back to the pause. If it sees that you're not doing anything, so that way the file size isn't enormous. Do you know what I mean? And it encodes it on the back end. So as soon as I like save the painting and it exit out, I can go and watch the time lapse. Or if I wanted to do a bigger time lapse, I can come up here to the settings, capture interval every 1 second. It's recording. The canvas size is 1500 by 1500, but I'm recording it at 1440 by 1440 because that's a better dimension for like socials and stuff, and I can import it in. But yeah, so it saves it there, saving it at 30 frames a second. So the quality is at 55%. I can probably raise the quality, but of course it raises the file size. But yeah, I like it because it's not intrusive. It's not super in the way. It just works. Krita's, so Krita has a time-lapse recorder, and it is awful. It is bad. And, you know, God bless Krita. I wrote a book about Krita, for God's sakes. I love it dearly. Do not use, as of right now, in my opinion, do not use that time-lapse feature in Krita. Because what it does is it saves a full, at least the way I have it set up, and I probably have it set up wrong, but it saves a full resolution image for every single brushstroke that you make. And then what it does at the end is it compiles all of the images together into a timeline, and then it exports that out. So, I mean, your folder for, even if you went in for 15 minutes in Krita and recorded a time lapse, it might be 2 gigs, 2 or 3 gigabytes. And like you only have essentially 5 seconds of footage. And you're like, that's absurd. Like, why would I ever? So that's why with Krita, honestly, I just record the screen with like open broadcast software, which is what we use to stream here. But I just record a clean screen with no webcams or anything, no doodads on it. And that's how I make the like YouTube time lapses on that. But with these, I like using the built-in time lapse feature because it gives me more options. And then if I just need a clean copy of it just for socials or put it on TikTok or put it on whatever, I can do that without it being a headache, you know. But yeah, hopefully that helps a little bit. So I'm trying to think of what my goal is going to be. I need to smooth out some of this stuff. I like the rough and tumble look, but I do need to actually render it a little bit. Around the nose bridge. I like this. I'm starting to like this more. It's funny. Let me I come over here. Every time I paint somebody like this, I think it's the Crow, right? Like, I just think of like, oh, I can make this person the Crow really easy. I just grab the color and I do this, 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 this. Now they're the Crow, right? Because of the dark, dark, dark eye socket. But I always think that. I was like, oh, I'm just going to grayscale the face and then put the Crow makeup on it. And it works, though, you know? But so I have the bristle brushes, and also you're going to see my pigment mode is on right here. So pigment mode is a way that the brushes blend a little bit together. And yeah, let me show you the visual settings that I have. So I know this is a little small on the, but really with my rendering, I have real shader on, I have nano pixel, and I have soft shadows. I have a little bit of impasto depth, but not much. It's only at a 1. Same thing for gloss. The soft shadows are kind of cranked up though, because I want that smooth transition between the shadows of the impasto paint and like the flat board of the canvas. And then the altitude, I actually only have on a 3, not even at a 5, which is default. I like it to be more subtle. So I know a few artist friends that I love dearly. They're also beta testers. They crank all of this up to 10 and like play around and smudge brush strokes and stuff. But like if I were to like crank this up, see, and then like if I do the shadow altitude, makes it look way deeper. But here to me it looks a little unnatural. In fact, it looks a lot unnatural. So that's why I kind of keep all this stuff down. Keep the impasto depth down to about a 1. That way we get a little hint of it, but it's not severe. It's not like overbearing. And then no metallic stuff. The canvas visibility, I have the paper texture and the paint texture kind of cranked up. You don't super see it though, which is interesting because this isn't actual. This one I have this canvas right here, like it's a genuine, like the Richard canvas, the William canvas. I bought these two because I like the look of them, but I don't know if it's because I applied it after the fact or what, but I actually can't see the canvas through it. Which is, you know, maybe I need to put the loading down because, yeah, I guess the loading on my brushes is at literally 100. So it's going to just cover that canvas. But yeah, so those are my settings. That's kind of my preferred way to work. And then I use the deckled edges. There's a setting on the canvas, actually, down here. I don't know if you can see it. Use deckled edges. So if we turn that off, if you notice the edges right here, how it kind of has that nice uneven kind of cut look. But if we turn that off, it goes back to being an exact square, right? But if you click it again, boop, there you go. It's almost like a filter. And then all of this stuff out here is going to be transparent, which looks really, really cool. And there was a thing I did for the bookish box to where I had to like paint a painting that was going to be on something. So like I kept the deckled edges on, that way it looks like a painting and I didn't have to worry about making it look like it was on paper or parchment. Like it just, because it exported with that grainy edge and like the chaotic edge, it would just look correct. It was awesome. And all of those settings do work on the NanoPixel, the export, which is maybe the best feature in Rebelle. Out of all the very good features it has, I think NanoPixel is the best. Because, yeah, it lets you just save out at ridiculous, I'm talking like 34,000 by 34,000 at 600 DPI and stuff without taking a hit. It's ridiculous. I genuinely don't know how they do it. But anyway, let's get to painting. Gonna straighten that out a little bit. Let me come here and do kind of a harsher line there. That way it's kind of like the shadow of her shirt, you know? Brent, what's up, my friend? Good to see you. Welcome, welcome. Also, I've done this little thing lately to where I clean up around my subject. That way they get the most impact. So like getting rid of any of these stray things around here. Some of these I like because they blend in decently. But like around the neck, like keep that a little sharper, you know? It just help pull it from the backdrop. Yeah, we have like our bristle rake brush that we can come and do some fun work this way. I like this brush quite a bit because it reminds me of having a palette knife sort of loaded up, you know? Does a good scrape, I think. That's sort of how we've done that. Okay. And like I said, we're streaming with higher bitrate and stuff. So hopefully the stream doesn't stutter or anything, because I know whenever you raise the bitrate with some viewers, it can cause some weird hiccups on the YouTube and the Twitch player. So I'm hoping we don't run into that. Because yeah, thankfully, knock on wood, my new fiber internet has been unbelievably good. I'm gonna block that in a little. Might change our hairstyle, I don't know, but we're just gonna keep it here. This is kind of where this is how I would also approach it if I were painting on canvas, which is in the plans. I don't know when, probably whenever I wrap up the commission stuff I'm working on now. And I might be getting another commission for a book cover, so. But there, we might be able to actually get a setup and do some physical painting on stream. I think that would be really awesome. And I think it'll be funny because I think a lot of people will be like, oh, I wonder how he paints like traditional for real. And then it's exactly like this. So you'll be like, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. Like, oh, it's instead of just picking something from a menu, he just picks up another brush and loads it with the color and then just does it. Like, okay. We're gonna extend those sockets out a little bit. Yeah, introduce a little bit of that kind of off color right there for the socket. There we go. We're just kind of hinting at the eye sockets. I'm not going to be doing any Phoenix, what's up, my friend? Good to see you. We're not going to do any like big highlight on the iris. You know, we're not going to be doing any of that because I actually like the look of the eyes in shadow. The same thing as the bottom of the nose catching it and like in shadow too. Yeah, you could absolutely do this with the Mimilio brushes for sure. The only thing I would say if you're going to use the Mimilio brushes, make sure that you have it set to where your opacity in your flow in the brush settings for those brushes is controlled by your pressure. And then, yeah, you're going to get a very similar experience. We'll do that. Let's actually get a brighter white. Oh, yeah, that's cool. It's almost like that blue white. Yeah, it's over on the blue side now. So we have that. Gonna bring this in. Bring this up. And see, this is where I always kind of have a fun time. One of the decisions you have to make. Do we want to keep the messy brushstrokes on places like the forehead and the cheeks? Or do we want to smooth that out? Do we want to kind of not necessarily get rid of all of them, but like use a blender bristle brush and kind of get rid of those harsh deals? I mean, it's a personal preference, of course, but like, you know, how consistent do we want the muddy texture? Do we want it across the whole face? Do we want it everywhere? Or kind of what's going on with that, you know? You'll notice I also did not use straight black on anything. And I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm going to keep it. This is sort of like a, what would I call this? A Payne's Gray, maybe? Because it's slightly on the cooler side. And looks cool. See, a little bit of texture at the edge of the brush actually works really, really well with making it look like hair because the texture is different, right? Jason, hello. Welcome. Hope you're doing well. And yeah, depending on how intense we put down the brushstroke, it does change how the edge of the brush comes off. So the muddier look, yeah. I mean, I do too. It's just always part of my art brain that says like, oh, well, the skin should be smoother, not completely smooth, but like smoother, simply because it's a different material, you know. And if we talk about like painting materials, skin's one of them, you know. A certain way it refracts and reflects light, and the oils in the skin and all that stuff. It does have a tendency to, because if you leave a lot of marks on the face, it tends to age your subject. So like if this was a kid, if we were doing like a child portrait, yeah, there ain't going to be a mark on that kid's face. You know what I mean? Like it has to be almost like cherub smooth. But as you get older, you get the crow's feet, you get the smile, whatever the smile marks and this little thing right here. And you get all that, you know, you earn it. So you got to paint it. That's the way it works. So we have that. Let me grab that again. Let me come over and let me grab Bristle Soft. There we go. That's a good one. Cool. We'll keep some of that. Let's smooth that out. There we go. And this is like collarbone. I don't know if that reads correctly, but worth a shot. Started using it as an old head getting back into art from scratch. Leonardo is great. It's so good because it just gets out of your way, you know? It's on you to just exercise and like put in the reps. And yeah, Leonardo's awesome. Love that freaking program. And see, this is what I mean by kind of smoothing this out. So we would like take a color, press in, just make it a little bit less jagged, harsh. So like we would come in here. So it will still look painterly, whatever that means. But it'll be less abrasive. Yeah, something like this. Basically, you don't want anything in particular to like, if you're looking at the model, like clear in the face, and you're just staring at their eyes, the goal is to not have anything around here take your attention away. So like if I were looking directly into the eyes of the model, this right here, I might need to clean up a little bit. This right here, I would probably soften out. Actually, let me do that one right now. So we'll still keep it. I like that it's darker, like on the side of the face. I can't remember what that's called, that bone structure. But see, something like this. So it's less, it takes less of the attention away. It's still there now, but it's more like controlled. Yeah, because see, now whenever I look into the eyes, that doesn't like ping at me. Down here, we'll kind of clean this a little bit. Cool. Then we'll kind of smooth this one out. There we go. And see, this is still using a brush. It's in paint and blend mode, but it's still putting marks on the canvas. we can really come by in a second and use just the blender brush to where it does the scraping and stuff, and it has the brush tip, but there's no paint on it. There's nothing loaded onto it. Is this one from reference? Kinda, sorta. Let me see. Let me bring up at the start. I kind of showed who I'm referencing. There it is. So we have a little bit from like Mike Carson. That's probably who we're mimicking the most right now. And then like my good buddy Daniel Ibanez right here, and see how like he kind of smooths out some of those edges, but you can still tell that it's painted. And then like Rob Ray's more on the rendering side of things, but then keeps the rest of the painting pretty dynamic as far as those brush seals. But yeah, probably the Mike Carson is really the look we're going to. And then of course like Ashley Wood or somebody like that. We'll always do Ashley Wood stuff, you know. Ooh, Artist 22 Pro. Heck yeah. I'm in talks with a company to review one of their Android tablets. I hope they send. I haven't heard back in like a week, but I hope they send me one because I'm interested. I want to use Infinite Painter again. I want to use Art Studio Pro. Might install Krita just to kind of see how it goes, but yeah, to have, because I have an iPad and like Procreate and all that stuff. But I'd be interested to see a nice like Android device. Like, let's see what, you know, the Android devices I have deal with like video games. I have like a Retroid, one of these bad boys. Let me grab it. Well, these set up almost like a little tiny Switch. This thing can play PlayStation 2 games. It can do all sorts of stuff. And then I got like this little, you know, nice little Game Boy Advance SP clone that plays all sorts of stuff up to like Dreamcast. It's dope. I like it. Gives you free art rage. Ooh, most of the XP Pen tablets gives you free drawing app. That's cool. Yeah, Huion and XP Pen are kind of my two that I recommend. Hell, I even recommend it to like other professionals. Like a lot of people will, you know, in the different art discords and stuff will be like, man, my Wacom keeps breaking or the drivers keep doing whatever. And I'm like, screw it, man. Get rid of it. I know it probably costs $7,000, but like I've had great experience with, I'm a Huion guy. I'm using a Huion right now. I use it for all my pro work. I have the actual like graphics tablet, I guess they call it, where it's just there's no screen. You just draw on it, but that's a Huion. I have an XP Pen, one of the smaller ones. That works great. Like, I love XP Pen. I love Huion. I highly recommend any of their stuff. I think they're a perfect place, not only to start, but to end as well, you know? Yeah, go ahead and try dropping the link. It should work, but if it doesn't, for whatever reason, if it blocks it or whatever, I will post it. I'll copy and paste it on my end because I'll see it as an admin, and I can post it. So yeah, go ahead and go for it. It should. I don't know if any of my, Lord knows all these like chat security bot things that streamers have. I think one's on by default, but but yeah, looking back, kind of back and forth, I'm looking at this monitor, which has I can see what I'm streaming, but then also looking back, like, okay, the face looks better. It's less glaring as far as like taking attention away. Really, it's going to be this. Do I want to keep this shadow a really harsh edge, or do I want to soften it out? It's that type of stuff. But then the background's going to be fun because we're just going to do some shenanigans. Okay. Let's come over here. Line, shape, perspective, value before learning drawing some things like landscapes or anatomy. So that's a great question, Win. I would say there's probably a reason you wanted to start doing art. Whether it's like comic books, whether it's video games, whether it's concept art or like paintings or whatever, right? I would say start trying to do that right away. Start trying to make your own superhero. Start trying to do Spider-Man studies. Start trying to do it right away. Just literally jump into the deep end. Because one, you want to garner the excitement. You want to use the excitement as like a fuel. But what you're going to run into is you won't be good enough to do the thing you want to do yet. You won't be. It just, no one is. Hell, I'm not good enough to do what I do. Like, I'm just not. Like, I'm not where I need to be. I'm not where I want to be. But you're going to start realizing the things that kind of resonate with what you're trying to do. So, like, if you want to make Riot, League of Legends splash art, like the cool dynamic character art with foreshortening and all that stuff, once you try to do it once, you're going to know what you need to study. You're going to be like, why can't I figure out how this freaking hand works, man? It's so stupid. The fingers look here and the thumb and then it does a ba 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 ba. Okay, well now get a 3D hand model or get whatever, or even look at your own hand and start doing some sketches. And you'll be like, oh, whoa, that's funny how the knuckles kind of follow the same curve that the top of the palm does. That's interesting. You're going to start learning these little nuances about things. And that's going to be the knowledge you bring forward, because that's going to be applicable to you. The worst thing you can do, I think the thing that makes it so hard and so frustrating is if you ask a lot of people online, they'll give you websites like drawabox.com. Drawabox.com is great. The way he structures the courses is awesome. His intent of why he built the website is genius. I love using it. I do not recommend it for a very beginner. For somebody that's really excited, just wants to jump in the deep end, and don't do Drawabox. You don't need it. You'll get more out of it as you get better. Because what Drawabox is it's a course to where you start with pencil and an eraser, and you're just drawing boxes. And then you tilt the box and it's a little bit in 3D, and then you tilt the box and then you stretch the box and then you do this and you stack the boxes and you do, and it's all very fundamental. It's all very, very dexterity based. It's all very, can you control a straight line? Can you make a cross? Can you make a circle? Can you make, like, great. But what it is like if you're learning how to play piano, if the exercise would be use your one finger and hit this note 5 times. All right. Now do that again. Now do that again. Now do that again. And then you do that 7,000 lessons worth. Yeah, you're going to be real good at hitting the one note with your one finger. When are we going to start playing music? Don't do Drawabox as your first thing. Don't do that type of thing right out the gate, because you're going to go insane. You're going to be like, I hate drawing this stuff. This does nothing for me. This is not exciting. It does everything. It does everything to turn you off from the idea of creating, right? Because like you're doing exercises. Great. Maybe do it for 5 minutes while you warm up to do a study of your favorite Spider-Man or your favorite Thor or whatever picture. That's more interesting because you already have a built-in love for that thing. You're going to have more patience figuring stuff out. I would say I do recommend Drawabox for intermediate to advanced artists, because as you start getting in the weeds of working and like working with clients and doing all this stuff, the one thing that goes away is the act of drilling in your fundamentals. because you're painting so many different things, and these two things have an animal in it, but this thing has a tree, but these are half-page things. This one's a portrait. This one's a this. You're doing so many things that at the end of the day, the thing that's going to improve your art is how well can you draw a box in perspective? Can you do it from imagination? Those exercises are actually very valuable, just not when you're a beginner, in my opinion. I could be wrong. A lot of people will be like, absolutely, you got to do draw a box first, and then only after you do 80,000 hours of drawing simple shapes and forms are you then ready to draw something. It's like, screw all that. No. Like, hell, if we made the jokes about me posting up my childhood art, if I find it, like, it's bad. But I loved it. I thought it was the coolest stuff in the world because I got to draw Spider-Man and his head's too big and his eyes are wrong and all this other, but I don't care. That's Spider-Man, dude. Look at that. That's awesome. That's it. That's all you got to do. Do the thing you love. You're going to know what you need to learn. You know? Yeah. Like Artwad too. Yeah, Artwad's cool. I actually follow him now. His name came up quite a bit. And I started following him, and I love it because he's right. Everything is a breakdown, and he's completely correct. He can draw anything from imagination. He's kind of from that Kim Jong-gi, Karl Kapinski sort of thing. Even like Marco Bucci's great at it. Who else? McBurney. Tim McBurney. Great artist, like unbelievable artists. But what they do is they can look at a thing and simplify it and be like, okay, the neck on this portrait is a cylinder and it extends out because then you have the trapezoid that's part of the shoulder base that connects to the, like, they can dissect it like that. And that's how you're supposed to, because you have to see how shapes and forms connect to shapes and forms. That's all any of this is. This is a sphere, and then it has a weird triangle coming off of it, which is called a nose because it catches light and days the shadow, and the lips are actually breaks within the sphere. Like, that's all it is. So draw a box is very important. That stuff is critical, but not yet. Not until you get to the level to where you have to work from imagination and make something believable. And you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the goal. But draw the stuff you love first. If you love landscapes, learn that. Buy some cool landscape painting books. What's great about if you're learning something like portraits or landscapes or something a little bit more traditional art based, if you go to your local library or you go to like a thrift store, like a used bookstore that sells, every book we sell is $1 or $2, and people trade in books. Go there and look for their art section. I can't tell you how many books I got because it was $1, and it's like a 300-page book on here's how I use oils to paint landscapes. It's just an artist. They're from Minnesota or Colorado or whatever, and they've had a tenured career. They're part of the official Oil Painters Academy. They have credentials and they have a lot of street cred. But they retired in 1972. But they wrote 3 books, and all 3 books are here. Someone turned in their collection of art books, or somebody, sadly passed away. Their estate got donated, and they were a collector of this person's art. You can find deals like that all over the place, and you will learn a metric ton from that. I literally have one called Brushwork. Let me go get it real quick. I'm gonna swap over. I'm gonna swap over here. We're going to go right here. I'm going to go get this book because I promise you. Here we go. So here's a few of them. So like, Brushwork Essentials by Mark Christopher Weber. How to render expressive form and texture with every stroke. It says $12.99. I think I paid like $4 for this. And it is fantastic because it has like art material lists and like how to do this and how to paint that. But this dude's a baller, does incredible work. It shows how to like clean your brushes. So stuff I already know how to do. But you come to the back of it here, and this guy's making some just stunners, you know, and he's doing it from step 1 to step 2 to, you know, I'd love to make a book like this. Same thing for here. This one actually helped me probably get a job on Magic. Painting Mood and Atmosphere in Oils by Carolyn Lewis. And yeah, same thing. She has her like lists of stuff. This says it was $4.99. I probably paid $2 for this. But she talks about time of day and what happens to clouds and what happens to coverage on buildings and mist. And I mean, just knowledge through and through. Like here's sketches and stuff. Unbelievable. And like both of these books combined were less than $10. This one's like 200 pages. This one's like 180 pages. And you get knowledge. You just get knowledge there, right? And it just works incredibly well. So you don't need the newest. You don't need the fanciest. You don't need to... I know I even sell courses. You don't even need my courses. If you go to the library, you'll find dozens, if not hundreds of those type of books. And like, you know, that's knowledge. You can use that. But like, it's stuff like that that I think is like diamond in the rough. Because yeah, you can go out and buy like, I think the most learningest books, I recommend them on my website. If you go to the shop page and scroll down, there's actually a recommended section, and I put some books that I highly recommend. All of James Gurney's stuff is perfect, of course. But then also like, what was one of the other ones? Like Hogarth, Beardstat for anatomy stuff, Andrew Loomis, of course, but and Alla Prima by Richard Schmidt, which is maybe that book's probably the book I learned the most about painting and color theory and like all that stuff, just all in one place. But that book's $180. It's worth it, but like I'd be remiss to tell you, oh well, to get better at painting, go spend $200 on this art book. That's a tall order, you know. Dr. Anatomy books, yeah. Got them in the library. There you go. Yeah, medical books are fantastic. Also, any sort of like exercise weightlifting book, genius. Because it's going to show you, oh, when you supinate, you're, and if you're doing bicep curls, if you're doing whatever, here's the muscles that are being used. Here's what they do. They contract or expand. They move, maneuver. What's the back do? What's your neck do when you move it around? Like, you're going to learn more there. And like, even like looking at yourself in the mirror, like if you're just observing, you're going to get so much art tutorial. Like everything is. Like if you're looking on your desk right now and you see the way a light is hitting a shadow on a microphone, or like, well, it's all there. You just got to see it. You just got to look at it. But yeah, that's a very long-winded way to say, do the thing that you really want to do. Just start doing it. Just do that thing. If you want to make your own comic book, by God, find comic book templates, find all this stuff, draw your stick men, make them look kind of cool and do funny poses, and then work up from there. Because like, at least you're doing the thing. You're going to get way more mileage out of that than any rudimentary, like, well, I need to learn my line weights. I need to learn my, hell, I'm terrible with line weight. I'm terrible at it. I kind of get it now. If you want it more in focus and you want something closer to you, the line is thicker. And if it's receding, the same way we do atmospheric perspective, the line is thinner and maybe a little raspier. It's all line control. I'm dreadful at it. All my stuff is very uniform. Like even the way I do paint strokes and stuff, it's very the same all the way through. So the way I do it is just the direction of it. SpecNet, welcome. It's good to see you. Man, look at that, man. YouTube going crazy. I don't know if you guys noticed on the chat here, but you can see the icons of where everybody's from. So, to what to look at in real life? Yeah, real life is always the best teacher, because the lessons you learn from doing like plein air painting or still lifes or whatever, that works everywhere. I don't care if you're a fantasy artist. I don't care if you do sci-fi. I don't care. The lessons you learn from doing art from life always work. Always. You will never be led astray by what your eyes are showing you and how you interpret it. It's just, it is what it is. It's the perfect teacher. It's free. You know, it's a great way to go. So with this, what I'm thinking, it's funny, the more I add to this, the more it's becoming like a Daniel Ibanez style piece, which is great. I think that's great, because I wish I could paint like Daniel Ibanez. You know, what do I want to do? What do I want to do for the background? I like the line sort of motif. Like there's a straight line and then there's two different colors and they might kind of mix and mingle and stuff, but like there's clearly a line, you know. Oh, really? Yeah, I need to go. Let me go do that real quick. Because by default, it sets it up. Yeah, by default, it sets it up. So, hey, everyone in Twitch, good to see you. Let me come over here. Let me go to creator dashboard, or actually, shield mode is on. See what this is. Chat verification. Okay. So yeah, it says all chatters must have a verified email. Chatters without a verified email. Okay. Let's do that. Phone verification. Okay. So that should be, it says it auto-saved. So hopefully, if you're in Twitch chat, hello. Still working out kinks and stuff here, but as long as you have an email address on file and your Twitch account is older than 1 week, you should be able to chat now. So yeah, it's funny. Before we streamed to Twitch, we used to stream to Twitch like 10 years ago, like even 11 years ago. They didn't have all this other verification stuff. It was the Wild West back then. So now this is all new settings. So whatever that looks like, it will be a constant ebb and flow, I guess, but we'll make it work. We'll figure this out. All right. But yeah, how do I want to do this background? How did Mike do his? So I like the fact that he has his gray right here. And then he's mixing it with kind of the dirty, what is that? Probably an umber, right? Or no, I bet that's yellow ochre, actually. I think this is the Zorn palette, looking at it now. Yeah, I can almost guarantee this is the Zorn palette. Yellow ochre, cad red, ivory black, in titanium white. Thick pink sludge. Yeah, so that actually comes down to the visual settings. So if you come down to the visual settings, like kind of where your canvas is by your layers, my impasto and stuff is down to like 1. So I have a 1 on impasto, 1 on gloss. My soft shadows, because I have Rebelle 8 Pro, so I have soft shadows and all that stuff. Those are up at 7. And then the shadow altitude is also at a 1. So the impasto's there, just not very thick. And then, yeah, I have the real shader, nanopixel, and soft shadows all turned on. And then canvas, paper texture, and paint texture are pretty much all the way up. Paper texture is all the way up, but paint texture is only at an 8, which is still pretty high. But that way, the tooth of the brush gets to like drag across, you know. So yeah, I would say mess with those visual settings, but you can see here, like this impasto right here, you got some of this, you got some of this over here, some of how this works together. I like to keep some of it, but I don't want it to look, because if it's subtle, it actually looks more realistic, in my opinion, you know. But yeah, Artwad looks like good people. So I would recommend that course. He has a big structured course. Tim McBurney also has a great structure to the course. Yeah, there's a lot of great stuff to learn from them, and I do recommend it. And they do it more like the classroom seminar. This lesson leads into this lesson, leads into this lesson. My stuff is kind of a la carte, right? Mine's like, here's basic landscapes, part 1. Here's intermediate landscapes. Here's this. So like, if a pro comes to my store and they want to buy, you know, whatever kind of class, they can just buy the one they need, instead of like, well, now here's your roadmap and go through this whole thing. Because like, I want to make it to where beginners can start off with like simplifying color theory. Great. Like, you know, it starts off basic, but then you can kind of pick and choose what you need. Which I know whenever I go to websites, I kind of like that as well. Like if I go to Schoolism, I like the fact that I can be like, oh, Nathan Fowkes has his new digital course up and it comes with brushes. Yes. And then I'll subscribe to that or whatever. And then use it that way. Yeah, he seems very on point whenever it comes to understanding the structure of how to lay out the lessons. Because even his free clips and stuff on his Insta, and like, I don't know if he's on TikTok, but it probably. But yeah, that type of stuff, I can already tell that he knows his stuff as far as like pacing. Because it all leads into everything. Like, sooner or later, you're going to do every part of art. It's going to happen because you're going to need to. You're going to learn about anatomy. You're going to learn about the backgrounds. Because you're going to have a need that you have to like learn how to do. Especially if you want to work professionally. You never know what's going to come across your desk. So you're almost like a trained Navy SEAL or something. You're like, you need to be ready for any job at any moment. Because the worst thing you can tell somebody is no. Like, are you available? No. I always say yes. Well, usually I say yes. Smooth that out a little bit. There we go. Yeah, so I think we're good here on the face and stuff for right now. Actually, let me get the blender brush. Let me grab the bristle flat 2. And then let me just smear some of this. Oh, I cannot smear some of this because it's on its own separate layer. So I need to find out which layer it is. This is where, this is the #1 feature request I have had on Rebelle for years, genuinely years. I need a button just like in Clip Studio Paint, where you can come up and you can create a new layer by merging all of your other layers, everything that's visible, compact it all up, make it one layer, and make that the new layer. Because merging the visible layers is not what we want to do. I need to keep all of this stuff separate. And also, yeah, merge layers won't do it. Merge visible layers won't do it. Selecting all layers and copy pasting and then merging those doesn't do it right. It's the one thing. And I've been in the beta forums. I've been, I've been a beta tester since like Rebelle 5 or Rebelle 4. And I keep asking. I want a merged, basically a merged duplicate layer. Give me a new layer, because that way I can just hit that button, and then if I grab my blender brush and I try to come up and blend, it actually does it. But right now my blender brush is not doing anything because what I'm trying to blend is on another layer. It is on a separate layer. So I'd have to go and find out what layer that is and either duplicate that layer or no. Anything that kind of gets in the way and breaks you out of the flow state is not my favorite. I mean, I love Rebelle dearly. I really do. But I wish they would do that. Because see, then if I put those marks down and I come back and blend, make this a little bigger. See, I can blend those all day. I can blend that all day. But you can see that it's not even blending to the stuff underneath it, really, unless I come in here, get that same color that I had before. Then we can get this. Then, see, look at that. Then it blends out the way we kind of want it to, right? So, I mean, it's kind of first world problems type stuff, but something worth noting. There's a shortcut to select a layer from the canvas. Oh, right, that's true too. Where I can just hover over, and as I start like marking or editing or whatever, it automatically goes to that layer. That's true. That could be a workaround for it. Transfer layer contents to the layer below it. Oh yes, because that's a good one too, because certain overlay mechanics, certain like blending modes, if you actually have it set up to like multiply mode for your shadows, and then you try to merge it down, it does whatever math it was doing, but applies it to a normal layer. And you're like, no, that's not what I need. So that's why having a visual snapshot would be great. Another thing, and it's super annoying, but what you can do is save what you have as a PNG or a JPEG or kind of whatever. I would say PNG because you can do it lossless that way, or very little compression. And then save that out and then re-import it as a new layer. And then you have everything from right there, All right. So what I do need to do, let's kind of blend this a little bit more. There we go. Something like that. Blend these a little bit, just like that. Okay. And we'll keep some of those paint strokes just to make it look good. So yeah, I'm wondering, do I like this harsh look for this shadow? Or did I want to come in and start like kind of blending this out a little bit? Something like this. To where it's less abrasive. see. Something like that. I come back over here. Here we go. Sort of do something like that. Kind of smooth that out a little bit. Here we go. All right. So yeah, I think that's looking okay here. Let me get rid of that. Yeah, there we go. That's better. Come in a little darker right there. Cool. Grab those. Grab that. And I can get the blender. Let me grab bristle round. Around those edges. Kind of smooth that out a little bit. There we go. Okay. Something like that. Now we can do what do I want to do? Do I want to start adding like dark blue thick smudges to the back and sort of like scrape them away? Give ourselves a little more variety on the background as far as like hue and saturation and stuff? Or do I want to keep with this motif, maybe introduce one other like kind of warmer color and then just start going crazy and mixing? So this is a kind of a good time to be able to pull up our references. So like Mike did, yeah, kind of the smudgy stuff, almost like plaster on here. Same thing here. This one's a little cleaner. You can see. And then Mike, yeah. So Daniel's is very smooth as far as like, yeah, there's a lot of value and a lot of color, but there's saturation and hue variety. But he kind of smooths it out. There's no real super rough look to that. And then this is just cool because I like to see, I think it's smart to do this way because it's almost like you're seeing through the layers and it fits the motif of like infinite space. It's like, yeah, you can kind of see how the brushstrokes build up. That is really cool. Especially because everything else is like really rendered out pretty well. Yeah. So let's try. Let's do new layer. Let's call it BG Smudge for background smudge. And this is where we are going to get something like, let's mess with these. Let's grab this. Let's grab this over here. Let's get something like this. See, and you can see more of the impasto right there. So we're going to keep the line right? Okay. So we have this. Then what we do, let's go ahead, pick some more of the background stuff. Let's do rough oily. Start marking on the inside here. Because what I'm going for is that look of kind of transparent paint, right? Then we can also grab that one, do it here. And see, I'm barely pressing down, enough so to where you can't really see that. But then let's grab thick, or actually fat bristle brush, blender. Make this pretty big. And then we do like this. See if it gives us the kind of starting the look that we want, you know? Blend that up. We'll keep a few things right here. Maybe a circle. Do some just straight up, straight down, and straight across. Yeah, it's not really capturing that one, but I'm gonna smooth it out around the skin, right? So now we have those in there. That's cool. Let's get palette knife, dry palette knife, with more of kind of the ochre-y look. Kind of a yellow ochre. And then what we can also do... Yeah, I really like how these fit, you know. So you have those. Then we can also pick the skin tone that we have. And start maybe integrating a little bit of it around, kind of as an underpainting type thing. See how it sort of like blends in. It's nice to always use the colors you already have on the palette because you know they're going to work. So we have that. Cool. Let's do knife textured. Then let's bring the white back in, right? Okay. That. Let's knife stain, but we're gonna blend it. Yeah, that's cool. All right. Now we're getting somewhere. Something right here. Let me get rid of some of the harshness here. Let's do knife grainy. Same thing. Blur some of this out right here. And see, we're pulling some stuff over other stuff, so it's looking like we're doing a lot of layering, but it's all one layer. And maybe I need to actually, let me do that. Knife dry. Introduce more of these marks back in. Yeah. There we go. And then I still like the white line stuff, so that we're going to bring that back. Is that? Yeah, there we go. Make it a little more white than normal. I wonder... like that. Really, I'm just trying to get some visual variety on this background. Keep visual interest on it, but also make it to where it's not overly eye-catching. So I think I went a little too far overboard on it being like dynamic and stuff, because some of these shapes are taking attention away from the main idea, which is the portrait. So I think maybe just kind of doing this a little bit more, sort of the back and forth of it. Yeah, and maybe a few of these, like, yeah, something like this to draw in the eye. I will say, the palette knives are picking up the canvas texture incredibly well, which I appreciate. You know, I dig it. Anything that looks like the paint is being scalpeled or like just like grind, like shifting across the canvas, and you still see the tooth of the canvas, looks very good. Rebelle is the best in the world at that, I think. I think everybody else is playing a far distant second, you know? And if I grab the white right here and do a little kiss like that, kiss like that, bring that in, then we can also rid of these a little, bring that in, because then we can grab the white. There you go. Make it more like a traditional brush stroke that way. Yeah. So that's there. That's cool. It just feels incredible. It really does. Right, now, what else does this need? Because, I mean, we're pretty much there. Because I wonder if it's the real finishing touches and stuff, and like the real subtlety shifts and stuff, if we want to do that, would probably be better served in something like Clip Studio Paint. Because that, or like Photoshop or whatever, because you can pixel perfect it with the exact brushes, with that, you know. With Rebelle, you're embracing the chaos of it. You're embracing the unpredictable nature. But sometimes when you have to come in and really refine some edges and stuff, it's better to go into a more pixel perfect painting app. Even, you know, Rebelle has like these digital brushes that they call it, I think, markers. Yeah, there's somewhere that has airbrushes, pastels. There's something that has the more like, here's your hard round brush, here's your soft round brush. Then you can make favorites now, which is cool. So, but like those brushes work okay, but they're not exactly what you need whenever you need like pixel perfect. Yeah, so this, if you guys want to see kind of where we're at so far, let me... This is what we started at. So you can see where I did the Loomis method. You do the Loomis method, you know, there. We did, I made the shadow of the nose hit the bottom. Because I used to, whenever I was first learning the Loomis method, I would make the bottom of the nose hit the bottom of the circle, and all of my faces looked super long, and I was like, I don't get it. But now I do. I would make the shadow of where the nose is casting a shadow. I would make that shadow the bottom of the circle on the Loomis method. Then I could come up a little bit. There's exact measurements. It's like a third, a third, a third. So like a third from here to a third to here. You know, if you break this into 3, even though it's a perfect circle and you go down half, across that line is going to be where your eyes are, depending on the face. It'll either be the middle of the eyes, the top, or the bottom of the eye, but some part of the eye is going to touch that line. Then you kind of work up from there. But you can see how this is a third, this is a third, the whole nose shape with the shadow and stuff, and then this is a third, roughly. I made it a little smaller on the chin, like a more petite kind of chin. Actually makes you look a little younger too. So if all your characters look kind of old, make their chin a little sharper and a little higher up than you would normally think. But then you can kind of see the outline, right? Because then I did the orbital nose, and then the mouth is going to touch this top part of the mouth, the little Cupid's bow or Cupid's arrow or whatever they call that. That's going to touch the shadow of your nose. So you can see how that did right there. Then I kind of did the M mouth shape, all that. And then, yeah, you block in the hair kind of where you want it, and good to go. Yeah, Paintstorm and Krita work really well too for the pixel perfect stuff. Just with Rebelle, the whole benefit of Rebelle is it's chaotic. It's not exactly where you put your brush and stuff. Like, you're not really feeling exactly what your movement is doing is giving exactly pixel perfect stuff. But Paintstorm does, Krita does, Clip Studio does, Photoshop does. I know some people use Affinity Photo, that does. So like where you can really get to the nitty gritty, that's usually your best bet. But yeah, the whole idea of this is, you know, it's a little chaotic. So we did this, then we did, actually, let me get rid of all these. Boom, 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 boom. Cool. So then I did my values. And this part was fun because what I did is I just kind of used that as a roadmap, right? Kind of just used it as a roadmap, put in the really sketchy stuff, and even started to get some variety in my values here. They're all midtones. I mean, don't get it twisted. It's all midtone. But you can see where I did slightly lighter, slightly darker. I smudged in a little here and stuff. So even if I hide the sketch, this works. Some people might argue this works better. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is just, there's no hiding. Like, that's it. That's your, ta-da, that's your portrait, you know. But then what I did is I did a color filter to add the red on top of it. It's not a gradient map necessarily. You can kind of get this look in Photoshop or whatever if you just make a new layer, fill the layer, and then change the color mode to either color or overlay or something like that, right? That's how you almost tint the picture a certain color. But I did this because the skin tone made sense, right? I have to work harder to get the results I want, and even then it's not perfect. Yes, so that's absolutely true. I would say that's the benefit of Rebelle. Rebelle is genius at, if you have kind of a rough idea and you sort of kind of know what you want and you know sort of the technique and you want it to look a little painterly, like if there's a lot of what ifs, start with Rebelle. If you have Rebelle, start with Rebelle, because that's going to let you experiment with the what ifs in a really cool, fluid, natural way. Then once you kind of nail it and you're like, okay, I see where I'm going, then you can export it out and work on it a little more pixel perfect, you know. But I kind of embrace that chaos, you know, because it's going to give me solutions to a problem that I may not have thought about, or it'll actually solve problems before they become problems. And it's up to the software, you know, to give me the wherewithal to like look through it that way. But then from here, you know, we added the red. Then I brought in the cyan because I was like, oh, what would be a good, you know, if we're having kind of the warms and the browns and stuff. So yeah, you can do that too. You can do the color overlay method. Works really well. It's a tried and true. But then from here, what I did is I made a new layer and then used full on high opacity brush and put in the cyans, right? Then brought in a little more brown, kind of kept the forehead and the chin a little desaturated. I've always learned, and what's worked best for me, is you want to warm up the T-zone. So like eyes go into the ears, you know, there's your long, and then from the bridge of your, above the bridge of your nose, kind of where it dips down, where your orbital, where your eye sockets are, basically, your eyebrows, kind of that line down straight through the nose and through the mouth. You want to warm it up a little bit. So you can see where I added some reds. I did a little bit of brown, which is actually kind of cooling it off, but it's a way for the reds to pop even more. You know what I mean? So like it looks a little unnatural, but then that's why afterwards I would come in, smooth it out, kind of what we were doing, right? And now we have something like this. Because we introduced harsher, you know, blue greens, turquoise, sort of cyan, it makes this automatically warmer because of what this is next to. You know what I mean? So we have something like that. I wonder if her tank top should be this cyan color. Because then you get the cyan as almost like a V shape, right? You get her head here, you get the cyan down here, the cyan up here. So it would like frame a little bit. Let's try it. Let me try that. So what I am going to do, new, come over here, turn off pigment mode. That way we can change this to color mode. Okay, got that. I need boom. I need boom. Let's change that. Let's get that color. Let's come in here and do this. This way, if we like it, we keep it. If not, you know, we do our thing. Let's get that a little darker. Yeah, I think that works pretty good. I think that works well. I will come and introduce the actual pigments, but like that looks pretty good. Let me grab that one for the light. Let me grab that one for the dark, or darker, I should say. Okay. Oh yeah, purple. We could try that too. Oh, they're under the pencil. So, okay. Pencil, colored pencil, charcoal, digital. There. Yes, you are absolutely right. Yeah, so you got your hard round, your soft round, your flat, which still work okay. They do work okay. But because of how fundamentally the brush engine is made, it's almost like you're essentially just putting a hard round brush into Rebelle. You know, like it's still going to have the same control mechanisms and the same feel as other Rebelle brushes. So it doesn't feel like a Photoshop brush in Rebelle. It might be technically a Photoshop brush in Rebelle where they brought in the PNG file and they did the same settings, but it just doesn't feel the same. But like push comes to shove, if you want to stay locked into Rebelle and you need a more exacting sort of look or exacting sort of feel, these digital brushes do help. They definitely do. It's just, I don't know. It's not why you come to Rebelle. And probably you already know your favorite Photoshop brushes and Clip Studio brushes. You probably already have those. So then, you know, you could just open up that program, go to your favorite thing, use it in 2 seconds before you're like finicking with the Rebelle brushes. Like, oh, it might kind of work if I keep working at it. Or you could just go do it and then bring it back. You know? Yeah, that's a good, let me try purple. That's an interesting idea. Because we kind of have, you see these smudges of, you have the yellow ochre and sort of this like cyan, and like these together kind of make a off green sort of color. The complement of, you know, green is going to be magenta. So if we did a magenta, and if the goal is to make our portrait person separate, separate her out. Oh, that's funny. She almost blends in more. Probably because it's a warm on a warm type thing. That's interesting, huh? Let me bring it a little more this way. Let me crank up the saturation a little more. I mean, there is a pop, you know? It does pop. Let's see. We'll do the art cheater method. Let me color pick this. So we're right here. And let's pick the exact opposite. Oh, it's funny. It's just going to be skin tone, actually. Never mind. That won't work because we already have a skin tone. The opposite of this is her skin tone. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so we won't do that. Normally, that's a good way to go, though. If you want to accent something pretty well, a great place to start is the pure complementary color. Just because it's going to change the temperature, you know? Because if we have that kind of cyan green, then, of course, the complementary is going to be warm. Because that's very cool. You're mixing two cool colors, a green and a blue. So you're like mega cold. But then... So, I wonder... Let's see what, like, a really kind of insane... Almost like ultramarine blue would be. Wow. huh? That is pretty cool. That's the nice thing. There's not really a wrong one. It's just what vibe do we want? You know? I mean, you could also do one of these, go real wild with it. Get like that kind of red. You know, full saturated. So I don't know. There's a lot of ways we can go. And then, of course, what we had originally was just the gray, which is very nondescript. Oh, man. So, yeah, I guess it's just artist choice at that point, right? Because they all kind of do the thing I wanted it to do, which is to separate our model from the background. What's funny, we could even just like color overlay as a filter and then just like slide the hue slider back and forth and kind of see. I think we're about done with this one. What I might do, let me come here, let me get pure white. And let me get some like pure white strokes on here. That way we can go maybe here. Kind of blending that out. You like the red? I think I like the red too, because it's just like it almost clashes, which I think works well. And let's say if we just do that, then we can actually like start embracing the red. And then like genuinely come down here. Do something like this. You know, get that right there. Get this to be sharp, sharp edge, sharp edge. Then we also get like a little bit of the shadow. You know, and we actually integrate it correctly. Then this comes over here. that this way. Something like that. And then if we come up here, I have that. And we'll start refining the last bits of these edges. That up. Actually, let me grab. Okay, here we go. Gonna blend those out. Cool. Contrast phenomenon. Thank you so much. I feel like I might actually here hit it a little bit like this to really kind of do that. That actually seems like it fits better with kind of what we already have, right? And then I can come up here, there, boom, get really, really bright red like this. Something like that. That's crazy. Look how saturated that is. That's crazy. Now it looks like a dinner gown. Like a, you know, it has that vibe to it. Which is cool. I dig it. Alright, let's try. Is it that one? Yeah, there we go. There we go. See, and here's the deal. I like that fine, but because there's a slight mark, it throws off the look. You know what I mean? So we're going to come back here. We're really gonna kind of get in here, make some good strokes and blends and all that stuff into here on the chin, because we don't really want any sort of blemishes there, right? So let me grab this. Let me grab that one. Blend it. So I'm just kind of loading up the brush a little more, that way we can blend this out. There we go. There we go. That's better. And I can kind of clean up some of these. Grab my blender. See, we're getting there. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. So I prefer, that's a great question, by the way. I prefer the paint and blend mode because the tail of my brushstroke, like, you know, as you go across your canvas or go across your tablet or whatever, as you pick up the pen, paint and mix, even if I go in and adjust the settings, is a little too sudden to like cut off the paint stroke, in my opinion. But paint and blend almost throws a little more at the end. It's almost like if you had a watercolor brush and just a little bit more came off as you pick the brush off. And that little tail end of the brush stroke mingles in kind of perfectly with everything around it. So it's almost, in a weird way, it is blending. I mean, well, it's paint and blend, so that is exactly what it's doing. But it's almost rendering. Do you know what I mean? Like, because whenever you think of rendering, at least for me, when I think of that, basically whenever I go in to render, it's get rid of any abrasive transitions where there shouldn't be any. So whether that's an edge or a value or a color or whatever, not necessarily blend everything together, but like make sure there's no real harsh jumps where you don't want them. So paint and blend allows me to do that. And then if I need a more sharp, harsh thing, I'll just grab the color I need and put the mark down. Do you know what I mean? So I'm like painting on top of the painting. So essentially everything I always have is an underpainting, and I'm adding on top of it, but I want it to integrate at the same time. So that's why the paint and blend mode works so well for me, because it's not abrasively mixing it necessarily. It's transitioning it to whatever's around it. Because my mixing method, I mix, like whenever I'm traditionally painting, I mix on my palette. I don't mix on the painting too much. I mix on the palette. So if I need a color, if I need a specific tone or whatever, I'm going to make it here, you know, and then bring it over to the canvas, because I need to eyeball it next to the other mixes I made. So then I can grab that pure mix. I know it doesn't make any sense, but like the new thing that I mixed up. And then whenever I put it on my canvas, I'm blending it with what's already there. That's how I was kind of trained to do it, is always mix on your palette. Don't really mix on the painting, because you're going to have more control, and then you can choose to do it, but then it's your choice instead of like the color mixing away you didn't want it on the painting and you're like, oh no, I ruined everything. You're controlling the mix here. Then once you get the mix that you like, then you wipe your brush off, load the brush, put the mark on, you know. Yes. So yeah, and I can show you real quick. We'll do it on an area where it doesn't quite matter as much. I mean, this is all digital, and paintings you can always fix, so it doesn't really matter anyway, but I'll show you. So let's say we like this kind of brown, yellow, ochre color and the cyan color. So let me go ahead and pick some cyan, and I'm going to paint with this kind of messy, harsh brush. Then, so that's paint, and so I'm on paint and blend. Let me grab paint and mix. Okay, so paint and mix. So putting the brush on, it's kind of the same. But then I grab, let's say, the yellow color. Let me actually push that yellow a little bit here. So this is paint and mix, and I'm going to use the same pressure that I do. So like here, we're getting a little bit. See, we're getting a little bit of the mix right here, maybe around the edges a little bit. And that's me being more subtle with some of the brush and stuff, trying my best to sort of like get it to mix, right? But let's do the same thing with paint and blend. So I'm going to get this, paint and blend, do the same thing, do the same thing, automatically, and see how it's dragging that into that, but then this into that, but then this into that, but then this into that. I can do that way easier than I can on paint and mix mode. Because see, I'm doing the same pressure, but it's still just kind of... It's not really doing it. Yeah, literally, I'm barely pushing. Okay, so now it's starting to. But here, it's just so much easier. Yeah, look at that. Like, how it automatically just starts to kind of... It's just a much better experience, in my opinion. It's easier to get to where I need to be as far as, like, brush control. But then, of course, on any of them, if you come and do the blender brush, you're going to get it right away. It just defaults to whatever the mix is, you see. But then, even with that, you see here, because the paint and blend mode was a little more subtle to begin with, even the blender brush is more subtle, in my opinion. You get a little bit more leverage. You get some more like creamy middle type stuff. Both are very, very good, but I enjoy the feel of the paint and blend more because then I can come in and blend. But that's also a reason why you might see other artists that use Rebelle get different looks because they may prefer the paint and mix or just paint. They don't even worry about blending. They just put all their really solid colors next to each other, then get the blender brush and then go for it. You know, that might be their style. That might be what makes sense for them and their workflow. But for me to be able to get these type of like edges and weird canvasy things and smears and blah, 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 paint and blend gets me there way faster without having to change tools all the time. It's just helpful in that. Yes. So yeah, you're exactly right. So paint mode is just, you're putting that down there. It might blend for a second, but really it's just get the information on there. And then you come back and edit it and do all the smudges and stuff. So yeah, I would say that's like full load, new layer type painting, where if you were doing it with an oil or an acrylic painting, you let that underpainting dry. Now you're coming with a fresh tube of paint, fully loaded brush, boom. That's the paint mode. Paint and blend, oh, actually, yeah. Paint and mix works a little like you're working with oils, but you added a little bit of liquid or like some sort of mineral spirit, or, you know, some sort of extender if you have acrylics, like a gelatin sort of thing. But then the paint and blend mode is like pure alla prima, wet on wet. You're going to get some mixes you may not have expected. Not quite watercolor type stuff, because that's extreme, but very fluid as far as like, oh, now these are mixing and this turns into that and this goes over here and smudges over here without messing too much with your brush settings. It's a very cool way to go. So we have that. I might clean up the mouth area a little bit. We're going to do a soft bristle. We're going to do paint and blend. I am going to grab that. We're going to come over here. There we go. Cool. Then maybe that sharp edge right here. Sharp edge right there. Let me grab that. Kind of blend that in there. Gotcha. Gotcha. That seems a little long now. The lip seems to come more down because that straight line continues. So we're going to break it up with this. Kind of blend it in. And see, that's the other thing. Like, I can kind of get these nice blends that I might need just with a little bit of control on the pressure that I put down. That should take care of that. And then this should come here. All right. And I'm doing the thing I would normally try to make nostrils. But because of the way these shadows work, I'm not going to do that. The same thing I would normally, you can kind of see I started doing a little bit right here. Kind of where the eyes are actually, the bottom eyelid. Normally I'd put like some sort of highlight there or something like that. But really, this change in value is the highlight. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of where I'm coming from this time. That way we can kind of show where the eye would be set within the socket. But we're not fully like... Yeah, we're not fully showing it to render it out. The same thing like right here would be a tear duct type of thing. But we don't need it. We don't need the tear duct because we don't have enough light to show that. Yeah, there's no shininess because there's not enough light coming into it to refract back to the viewer. At least that's what I think. Now, what's interesting, and I found this out, some people are going to hate this render style because you can't see the eyes. People get really freaked out in a portrait if they cannot see the eyes. Because, you know, of course, as human beings, eyes are the way we communicate. We communicate emotion. We can look scared or frightened or sad based on the eyes. That's why on Disney movies, their eyes are enormous because that's where the emotion is. So you can't see the eyes on portraits like this, which I appreciate. I think that's really cool because then the attitude comes from how you render everything else. So this, I think this is like fashion model, kind of badass. I'm going out, night on the town. Nobody can stop me, you know, doing the runway kind of thing. Like the kind of Zoolander cheeks, you know, but the attitude is coming all the sharp diagonals for the cheekbone and the shadow coming down, and also for like the orbital area. It's very aggressive, but like confident. Like, okay, she's in it. You know what I mean? If I did very soft stuff and it kind of like bled into each other and everything, it would be a little more sad, right? Because of how we're rendering it. And even the same thing with the hair. The hair's jagged. It's on the, you know, the smeary stuff on the outskirts. Like the hair is well put together, but also kind of chaotic. Like it all works, you know, because I'm using my crazy brushwork. The figure is also going to represent that, which I think is good. So there's just enough. Yes. So I've talked about this before, and you're absolutely right. The art that resonates with people, that like if I make a piece of art, the ones that resonate with people a lot are more like this, because the viewer has to work for their meal. Like you are as much a part of this painting than any brushstrokes I'm putting in, because you have to view it and you see what you see, and like you're putting it together. It's a puzzle. I gave you all the pieces, but your brain is like, oh yeah, no, I see, and that's where the light is shining down and all this. But that also goes into the idea of not painting the eyes. Like you are now reading into it, not necessarily what was my intent on leaving out the eyes, but like, what attitude do you feel? What sort of connection or lack thereof do you feel with the model? And I think that's really cool. That's a really cool, you're having a conversation with the viewer. And that's always going to be more fun than if everything is right there and very obvious and to you. Now, a lot of people make it work because they're very good at what they do. But if stuff is very, very obvious, I get bored kind of quick. I see it and I can appreciate it. And I'm like, wow, man, they rendered every single hair in that nostril, dude. That's crazy. And like, I respect the hustle and the dexterity and the like performative aspect of it. But as a piece that makes me start thinking about things, or man, I wish I lived there, or man, I wish I knew that person. Man, I wish I was like that. I wish I was more confident in what I'm doing. You know, you start reading into it. And there's your connection. It's why you'll go to an art museum and sometimes you'll go up to a piece and not really like it. Or it may not be your jam or whatever, but you're like, hey, you know, that's cool. Like, I'm glad I saw this. This is really nice, but you know, it's not my thing. And then 3 people later, they come to it and they just bawl their eyes out. They just start crying. You're like, whoa, what's going on? Whatever it is, whatever that is, my job as an artist is to kind of have a vibe that I want to convey. But really, it's to give you the keys to the castle. Like, this is now yours. My part's done. I painted the thing. I'm done. Whatever, my nourishment came from creating this thing. The viewer's nourishment is observing and learning and like looking and relating. And I 100% think that viewing a piece of art is just as intuitive and, you know, connective as painting it. Really, all the stuff that resonates with me, I could stare at all day. I could stare at it forever. Oh my gosh. Give me a John Singer Sargent. Mwah, you know what I'm saying? What's up, Missing? Let's see. Are your brush packs and your website working for Rebelle? So you can. So I may actually have to do this and add it to the brush packs. You can export the brush tips as PNG files, and those PNG files can be brought into Rebelle. So Rebelle's brush engine is a little bit different than, let's say, Photoshop or Clip Studio or Krita even. In theory, they work the same. You get a brush tip, and then you get a bunch of settings, right? Like, oh, flow, opacity, jitter, hue, saturation, all the little dual brush engine, whatever the program has. Whenever you save out a brush pack, it not only saves to the tip, but all those settings. Rebelle is really interesting because you save the settings of a PNG file, and then the metadata of the PNG file correlates to the settings in the brush engine. So all of these are just PNG files. If you went on a website and like found a PNG file of like a logo, you could import it into Rebelle, and it might have some crazy brush settings, but like it can work because all these are image files. And I know that's kind of technically how all brush engines work, but like I find it very fascinating because when you export a Rebelle brush, it's not a brush, it's a PNG file. And it shows a little, like the little menu or the little preview here. And then it gives the name of the brush as what you name it. And then another bigger picture of the brush tip. And that's it. That's all the actual brush file is it's like just an image. And then you drag that image, but somehow it has all that metadata and like does it that way. So I should make a brush pack for Rebelle to go back and like retroactively add Rebelle brushes to older brush packs may not actually be super like worthwhile. Not because, you know, any one thing or whatever, but like I don't think they would work well. Does that make sense? Like I genuinely don't think those brushes that were made for, let's say, a Photoshop or a clip would necessarily work to the advantage of Rebelle itself. I think what I'll probably do is make a free Rebelle pack and have kind of my greatest hits on it. But then if I end up making like 40 or 50 Rebelle brushes, then I'll sell that for like $2 or $3, kind of how I sell my other brush packs, or like $4 or whatever. But it would be specifically for Rebelle. Like, I would want it to function the way it functions for me, for everybody. And that's always my goal with like my Photoshop brushes or Krita brushes or whatever, is like, I want you to have the same exact feeling as far as like brush opacities and texture and all that stuff that I do. Instead of giving it like, oh, here's the little JPEG or PNG of the brush tip, now do what you want, which you can. I want to have it more nurtured than that. So making a deliberate Rebelle brush pack would be the better option, I think, because I think people would be happier with it too. Because you can like load it and then forget about it. You don't need to mess with settings. You don't need to. You can always go in and customize it. So if you want it bigger or smaller, or a jitter here or there, you could do that. But open it, you're done. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of the goal. Oh, what's up, Ivan? Good to see you, brother. So yeah, like, you can bring those brushes into Rebelle. I just can't promise how well they would work, because some of that metadata stuff doesn't correlate the same way in Rebelle as it would with like a clip or a Krita. I know, a long-winded answer. Surprise, surprise. But but yes, I do have plans to make a Rebelle pack. That is on the agenda. I've been a Rebelle beta tester and part of their, like, I guess, marketing team, because I do social media stuff with them. But like, I've been a big fan of Rebelle for years and years. So I think supporting it with a brush pack, a free brush pack and a paid brush pack, is kind of the way to go. I think it's a good idea. And doing the free brush pack's great because I'll be able to put it out. Well, I'll do the free one first, for sure, because then I'll get feedback. Like, hey, I tried to import the brushes and it didn't quite work the way I thought. Or, hey, this one feels really weird. Are you sure this is how it's supposed to be? Getting that kind of feedback's good, because then I can integrate that feedback into a paid pack. On how, yeah, I can do that for sure. I've been doing that the past few years on my Photoshop brushes, is like, how do I use these brushes well? But also, I could, for the Rebelle one, show how I make it. And really, I can even give you kind of the quick breakdown on how I make all of my brushes. I usually start with a default brush. And then I start messing with stuff. I'll like go in. It's funny. Sometimes I'll use Rebelle to make a Rebelle brush tip. So like, I'll open up a new canvas, give it no canvas texture, just work on like a black background or a white background or whatever. Usually it's a black background, because the white is like a mask, and whatever is white on there, whenever you save out the PNG file, that's your brush stroke. And then I'll come in and grab all the default brushes and start making like a little line zigzaggy thing, smudge it out a little bit, kind of get that looking, and then export that out as a PNG. Then import that PNG that I just saved into Rebelle or into whatever I'm working on, Photoshop, Clip Studio. Then paint with it. How does it feel? No, it needs to change a little bit. So then I'll adjust those settings on that brush. Do you see what I'm saying? And I keep doing that over and over. And then once I get it how I like it, then I save that one out. Then I re-import it and start using it again. And if it feels exactly the same, then we're good. That brush is done. Like, we're where we want it. But it's iterative, you know? And whenever I'm making Photoshop packs with like 60 brushes, 70 brushes, it takes a lot of time. So the Rebelle pack will probably only be about 5 to 7 brushes, but it'll be free. It'll be for the oils. Oils is my favorite stuff. So it'll be for the oil stuff, like bristle brush engine, all that stuff. I might also make a non-bristle brush engine version. That way, if you have like Rebelle 7 or lower, you can use the brushes. But then if you have Rebelle 8 or higher, because I think they're going to stick with the bristle brush engine. It works super well, so I don't see them getting rid of it anytime soon. I think they can push that, you know. They can use the Rebelle 8 or above version, but if you have like Rebelle 7 or below, I still want to make brushes that work for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's part of it. My thing is, if you have a Rebelle, I want the brushes to work. Like, that's always my goal, is like, you need to get your money's worth, even if it is free. I want you to be able to use it. So here we go. I think this might be done. Done is an evil word, because you can always come back and fix and tinker and stuff like that. But like, I think we're good. Let me fill out the lip a little bit here. We'll kind of have that. There we go. So yeah, I'm digging the boxier shadows now. Shapes, empty spaces, angles. So really, whenever I start making a brush, I think back at like my favorite traditional brushes. I'm like, why did I like this filbert brush so much? Oh, because it was smooth and it kept its shape and it did all this. Okay, cool. So then in my mind, I'm like, okay, I need this brush to be kind of a wet edge, because whenever you have the bristle brush and you put liquid or Gamsol or whatever on it, it makes it a little more wet. So I really do a 1-to-1 on thinking like traditionally. Just because that's how my brain correlates all the information. It just compacts it in there. Like, how would I do this if I were painting on a canvas? Then I do that. But yeah, and then once I'm there, so if I want to make like an edge brush, like a knife, like a scraper, it's going to be very sharp on one and kind of taper off the texture going whichever direction your brush goes. So that's a setting. It's like, hey, follow direction of the brush stroke. Then I would activate that setting and then start playing around with how, you know, gritty and how much fall off is there. And like, then I'd start tweaking knobs. So really it's about, what do I want this brush to do? Do I want it to be a rendering brush? Do I want it to be a special effects brush, like a canvas texture brush? Do I want it to be square? Do I want it to have a slight angle to it? What do I need this brush for? Because it's all about utility. Like, how is this used? I want every brush to be useful. Even if you don't use it a lot, you got it. You know, you have an angled brush, a jitter brush, or a smudge brush, or you know, you have the thing you need, because it's all about having tools in the toolbox. Yeah, so once again, yeah, every painting program has its own vocabulary, I guess is a good way to put it. Like, they could be the same words, but they mean something different, you know? And the way, like, I think I did make an old Paint Storm pack that was part of another pack, and I think that should work okay. But the actual, like, other brushes, like ABR brushes or whatever type of brushes you're importing into Paint Storm, if it's not a native Paint Storm brush, it ain't gonna work very well. Just because the way they think of things and the way their flow and opacity and jitter and hue saturation and flow and all that stuff, it works different than like Clip Studio Paint or Krita. And Krita works different than Photoshop. And Photoshop, like, they're all, that's how they have their own trademarks, right? It's like, our brush engine works different, which is cool, but when you make brushes, it's like, all right, let me dig in to see how this works. A perfect example is with Adobe. They have something called the dual brush engine, where you can actually stack two brushes on each other and then it does like a mingle thing and you get some sort of deal. Well, Clip Studio also has a dual brush engine and it doesn't work the same. So any settings I would make with a dual brush in Photoshop will not work at all in Clip Studio. They just won't do it. So like, I would have to make each one from scratch almost. Like, I could bring in the brush tip and that works, but then everything else is going through those dials and being like, how can I make this feel like a Photoshop brush? How can I make this feel like the Krita brush? How can I, you know, it's all based on feel. How do these brushes feel? Can they interact? If you go from one software to another, like really the Photoshop brushes and the Clip Studio brushes, I've got it pretty well down. I can make them kind of 1-to-1. And I can save it out in Photoshop to work better in Clip. because I know what settings transfer over and how they transfer over better now than I did like 3 or 4 years ago. But yeah, it's really interesting. It's a really, I don't know, it's fun. It's a fun puzzle to solve. But I wish they would stop updating their brush engines, because it makes making brush packs way harder and way more time intensive, you know. But I always try to keep the quality up. That's why literally I've been only releasing one brush pack a year now, is it gives me enough time to like really dig in and really make it work and really have it be something special. And plus I don't want to flood you guys with like, I make brushes, here's 700 brush packs. And it's like, well, that does no one any good. Like, put them in a Procreate because it's only medium. They work okay, just okay. They gave me what I want on my brush. Yeah, so like, and that's why in the video tutorials, I always say that. I'm like, guys, you bought the brushes and I appreciate it. Manipulate them however you have to make it work better. Like, turn off dual brush, change the hue stuff, like however it works better for you. It's basically like I gave you a cutlery set. I gave you a set of like, here's a spatula, here's a mixing bowl, here's a this. However this needs to work, make it work. Like, do what you got to do, right? If you need to shorten the handle on the thing, like that sort of stuff, right? It's like, make it work the way it works best for you, because they are now your brushes, right? They belong to you. They're on your device. You will be using them the most. So like, go for it. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into it, you know. It's not really a copy and paste job. Like, well, I'm just going to import this and export that, and then they all work the same. It's like, nope, there's a method to that madness. Yeah, so it's fun. If we kind of zoom in, you can see some of these shadows and stuff, and like some of the scrapey textures and all that. And then we come over to the face here and you can see some of this, kind of the cool scrape stuff, or the swoopy brush stroke work. Yeah, I think we're good. The only thing is, I just now saw this. This one tapers off okay. This, the shadow just suddenly stops. Let's extend it out to where it's the edge of, here we go, the edge of this, and then we're also going to get this red and darken it. Let's get that. There we go. We're selling the idea of that shadow, right? So we got to paint that shadow in. Yeah, there's not really a mixer brush. It's like I hope to catch you. Thank you so much, Spec, for hanging out. Pleasure having you. There's no mixer brush. Yeah, there's no mixer. It's just the smudge tool. So I would put, basically, I would just put stuff like next to each other if you want to blend it together, and then grab the smudge tool and then go for it. But the smudge tool is very, very good. There's some very cool like roller brushes that you can use as a smudge tool, and you can get some really interesting, like realistic results. It's really cool. There we go. some of this. I like the messy hair. I've never liked rendering hair, like ever. So this is great for me because I don't have to render it. You know, it's just a shape and that's about it, right? Okay. What do I want? I actually want the knife dry. So this is a fun little technique. This is an easy one. If you ever have a straight line and you want to do something like a little bit of variety or something on it, like over here, right? We have that kind of this line right here. Above the line, you take that color and then go down into the other color. The line here, you take the bottom color and then come up into this color. And it does a very nice, see what I mean? I don't know what that is, but like, it just works. And it works with any painting program on any piece. It's just cool. Like, it looks good. Keep it simple and out of the way. Yeah, that's true. And see, mine is just a shape. I always think of hair as like a hat, right? It's just connected, but like, it's on top of your head. So if I can keep it one main shape, then we can come in and add some, you know, lighting or whatever to it. But even this, see, her skin is very kind of reflective, refractive, like it bounces the highlight. But the hair, you notice, I haven't put any of that in. I think it looks better as an abstract shape. Now I might add a little bit of dark. So if I grab that dark right there, it's actually lighter. Funny. Okay, here we go. You know, you can like darken that up a little bit. A little too much. I like that one. Okay. Yeah. And then we can like, I can like bring this down a little darker. See, it might be a little too dark. It's sort of kind of getting away from... See, I'm just going to barely kind of mix it in there. That way we have a little bit of dark next to the eyes, draw focus, and then I'm going to kind of blend this out. And notice I'm not on the blender brush. I'm actually on the paint and blend mode. Just barely touching and like scraping. And it gives us kind of what we want, because then I can bring that texture back by pressing a little harder. Too much time. Yeah, hair is one of those. Hair is one of those, and funnily enough, hands are the same way. The more you can simplify a hand, the better it's going to look, because your viewer is doing the hard part. But if you're trying to go in and get every single nook and cranny and like, oh, well, this part of the knuckle bends and this part of the knuckle bends, like I would just do a 3 shape, like a curve, but with edges. Like that's how I would do that. You know what I mean? I wouldn't worry about, well, the little shadow and the light doesn't hit with the thing. Unless somebody needs a perfect rendition of a hand for whatever reason. And if they did, I would tell them to take a picture, because that's how you're going to get all that detail very, very quickly and correct. Just take a picture of a hand. But if you want to paint it, you infer the detail. You inspire the viewer to put in their own detail. And that's kind of where the magic is. Usually, the more, it's like Occam's razor. The most simple version of it is usually the best. Is usually the most effective. Some hairlines, outer source. Yes, that's exactly right. That's how I approach it. Like, yeah, this one's perfect example. Like, I will put in some raspy stuff at the end. I might change some value here or there. Every once in a while, I might do. So like if we wanted to add a highlight and see the highlights here. So like if I wanted to add a highlight, I could come up here and do like this and like that or something, right? But to me, that doesn't add anything, and it makes it look very awkward. Like, now it almost looks like she has more of a ponytail type thing, because now that part is catching light and stuff. But it's just a little much, right? Even that's a little much, in my opinion. Because it doesn't need this. It might be nice to have it, but it doesn't need it. Because then if I'm putting highlights on everything, well, why doesn't this have a highlight? Why doesn't that have a highlight? And if that touches the light, it needs to be lighter than the... You start getting back into your rendering and the art. The art brain says this, and this has to happen. But this is more dramatic. Like, this hits better. You know? Yeah, going gray, right? Yeah, you start adding in a bunch of white highlights everywhere. Well, you just added 15 years, you know? Which, you know, nothing wrong with it. I got gray in my beard. But it's like, yeah, it's a very distinct... You have to make that decision. Does that fit the character? Does that fit the portrait? Does that fit... You know, if you're doing a portrait from real life, is that what the person looks like? Do they have that? Is their hair very big and very shiny? If so, make it big and shiny. Like, it's very cut and dry, at least in my opinion. But here, this is always the best place to start. Make sure the shape of the hair looks good. And everything else is just kind of bonus, you know. But yeah, I think we're on, 2 hours and 52 minutes. So we might call it here, actually. Let me go to File, Save. Very cool. And we did save a time lapse on this, so I will be posting this up. Yeah, I think we did it. We did the thing. We wanted to do a contemporary portrait in the style of like Mike Carson and Daniel Ibanez, and I think we did it. You know, I'm happy with this one. I do like the more harsh shadows. I think I'm gonna start making more of my art like this, to have the very geometric shape shadows, because I think it's going to help me visualize a lot of things. I would say one of my biggest art struggles right now is finding out the form of something, but showing the form in a way that doesn't look academic. It doesn't look like I put it through my mind filter to figure out the exact lighting scenario of the thing. Like, I need to get rid of that more academic side of it and just embrace, like, does it look cool? Great. Then do it. Do it that way. Do it the cool way. Do it the way that has some energy. It has some dynamicism. Edges. Don't be afraid of the edges. Harsh, sharp. Then mix in some blends, kind of like how we did with the landscape and how we did here. Like, just make the image interesting, for God's sake. Because my thing is, I get so up in my head about all the art crap, about like, well, you know, I'm a pro artist, so I need to render this out, and people are going to be looking and trying to hire me, and blah 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 blah. And you get so caught up in that grind that, like, is the image any good? Like, do people like looking at the painting? Yes or no? If no, you got some problems. But if yes, great work. If it looks good, it is good. Bottom line. If it looks good, it is good. You know? But that's my thing. That's my look. Move the microphone down here. Geometric shadows. Ooh, okay. I need to copy that name. Anyone that does that, and like somebody else that does it very, not subtly, well, actually kind of way more subtle than what I just did, is Tyler Jacobson. That's who it is. That's why I think I'm a real big fan of his art, is because he does very strong shadows. It's funny, he doesn't paint the light, he paints the shadows, if that makes sense. Because some artists paint the light. Like, I would argue, like, Caravaggio absolutely paints the light. His thing, his main focal point is the light, the way the geometric light works. The painting I just did, I would argue, paints the shadows. all of the details in the midtones, but all of it's based around the shape of the shadows. Even the hair, that's why the hair worked well, is because the hair is the same tone and value as all of the shadows. So it framed the face. We were able to see the face better. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's fun. It kind of goes on the way of like high key and low key. Like in a high key painting, all of the detail is going to be in the brights and in the highlights, and like it's a sunny day outside and there's clouds in the sky and I'm going to look at the clouds and blah, blah, blah. And that's high key. But low key is where all of your stuff, all your interest is in the shadows. So like I would say like my camera right now, I would argue this is a low key camera setup, because the highlights, like my skin tone, are very not flat, but like there's not a lot of detail. But in the shadow values, you can see subtle little shifts and like the subtle deal. And then there's a bright hit of a window, but then there's like subtle pillar and like this, and this fades into this. So all the interesting stuff is happening in the shadows. Like, where is the interest in your painting? Is it in the highlights or is it in the shadows? And I think doing that balance, or finding one that you really want to go with, is kind of the way to go, because it makes for a more dynamic image, you know? Yeah, so light exposure is usually a photography thing. You talk about ISO, you talk about exposure, but like your settings on your camera, how much light is coming into the lens. It's a very photographic way of thinking, or like video, like film, like filmic. But with painting, it's kind of the same. It's everything. It's, what mood do you want? Do you want it to be somber and like a sad, like somebody's there writing in a notebook? I would make that a dark one, and it's maybe lit by candlelight. So the light is very subtle, and you might get some hits of rim light or whatever, or like on the glasses, it might shine the reflection, and you might, you get some interesting dynamics there. But I would keep it dark. I'd keep it dark. A lot of people think you need all of everything, that you need, this needs to be bright and bombastic with dark shadows and heavy highlights and bam, and this is rendered and that's rendered and bloom, ba-bloom. That I ain't all about that. Like, I would say pick it, if I'm craving pizza, I don't also cook chicken. Do you know what I mean? Like, if I want the thing, I'm going to go to the thing. I'm not going to worry about the other stuff. Not at this point. So yeah, like, oh, it used those terms, which is a good way to do it, because I mean, at the end of the day, you're making a scene, right? You're developing a scene. So you're a lighting person. It's like doing a stage play. Like, how is it lit? How are our characters lit? What gel do we need? You can think of it that way. And that's a great way to go, because you're building the scene. And at that point, when you're asking those questions, you're building a mood. And mood is everything. God, man, that's everything. The more I work and the more I do my own personal paintings and stuff, mood is it. There is nothing more important in a painting. So if your painting has no mood, hell, figuring out what the mood of your painting is automatically figures out, what colors am I going to use? How dark are they? How light are they? How bombastic? Is there a lot of contrast or not? Or like, if you think of it from a storytelling element, it answers a lot of your questions, and that way you can work always coming back to the main question. Like, does this painting still look sad? Does this painting still look happy? And if you start veering away from it, you can take a step back and be like, okay, how could I make this piece of art happier? Well, maybe the smile's bigger. Maybe the colors are more vibrant. Like you can answer those metaphorical questions with tangible like decisions to make. And that's the magic, is like, now you're breaking the brain hand or brain barrier, whatever that is. You're bringing what's in your brain out onto a canvas, and that's the whole point. That's what we do. So yeah, guys, a lot of fun. Thank you for hanging out today. This was a fun one. Yeah, happy with the portrait. Feeling good. Need to go back and work on some other client stuff now, but but tomorrow, I'm pretty sure tomorrow, we're gonna do another game stream. I'll be just streaming on Twitch there. That way we don't muddy the waters with doing the art YouTube stuff. We do these every Wednesday, so every Wednesday we come live with some art stuff, tutorials, paintings, all that stuff. A lot of fun. But tomorrow and maybe Friday, we'll see how Friday goes. Play some games. Oh, you guys are awesome. Appreciate you all very much for hanging out. Yeah, but now we're streaming, and whenever I get the okay, I do have a video game YouTube channel that I just opened up. I'm going to move all my video game stuff from back in the day, because if you go on here on the YouTube channel, if you go back to my videos and you scroll like 6 or 7 pages, you're going to get to where I used to do all game stuff. It was all video game stuff, like Power Hour, West versus Backlog, all that stuff. I'm moving all of that over to the new channel, which is West versus Backlog. And that's all the video game stuff. This way, this one's all art stuff, the art live stream, everything's going to be here, all artistic based, time lapses, all that stuff. So that's part of this shift as well. So hopefully you're digging the new layout and the new looks on the live stream. We're still going to tweak some stuff here and there. But yeah, overall, this is how it's going to be. A little green screen for the art stuff. That way we get big. You can see all the options. You can see my layers, all that stuff. And then, whenever we play some games, that'll be fun too. We'll have full screen games and me in the corner, little green screen and all that. So yeah, trying to get all this other stuff out of the way. You know what I mean? we got the chat in the bottom, but here it's nice because it's big and we can see it. Trey Dog, what's up, my friend? We're just wrapping up for today's stream. Been live for 3 hours and 2 minutes, so we're good. We got a good one today. Great crowd, great talk. A lot of fun. Make a competition for community. Oh, that'd be fun. And then I can show it up on screen and we can talk about it and stuff. I do need to do another Patreon paint over. So I do have a Patreon. It's only $1 a month. I've been kind of bad about updating it, but I'm going to be putting more work in progress stuff, like PSD files, making of stuff on there. I do want to make some exclusive things for the Patreon, but I will be doing Patreon paintovers to where everybody can like submit a piece and then talk about something they're having a hard time with. Like, hey, I'm in the mix of it now, but I can't separate the person from the background. How do I do this? How would I approach this? It's almost like a review of a piece of art, but with intent of improvement. Or like, how would I fix it? Or not fix it even, but like, how would I approach if I ran into this problem on my piece? What would I start doing, or what would I try to do and see if it worked? Marco, what's up, brother? Dude, I put together my fight stick, man. Put together that fight stick. I'm going to be doing some Street Fighter very, very soon. I'm trying to pick my 3 fighting games. I think I'm going to sign up for 2 or 3 for Texas Showdown. Street Fighter's 1, of course, but I can't decide on. I'll grab the stick here in a second. Can't decide on if I want to do Tekken, or if I want to do Grand Blue Fantasy, or if I want to get real in the weeds and do like a like I'd get eaten alive on Third Strike. But hell, I could do like Under Night, or what's that called? Under Night in Birth, blah blah blah. Like it has a big long title. I don't know. That way I can practice. No, I might do Fatal Fury, actually. I might do City of the Wolves. I'm really bad, but maybe I should do that. Maxed out at 4 per event. Yeah, that's a wise way to go. Because, it's... But that way I would also have something in the back of my head. If I suck at all of them, it's because I tried to play 4 games instead of 1, But I know it's going to happen. I'm going to study Street Fighter the most, and I'm going to do the worst at that tournament because there's so many good players. But then I'll do like, Grand Blue, and I'll make it past the first pool or something. Like, it just is what it is. I'm going to spend all my time and really focus and try to learn this thing, and I'm going to be bad at it. But all the ones I'm like, yeah, no, I'll get to that. I'll do better at because I'm just winging it. That's usually how it goes. But yeah, community event for the art would be fun. be super fun. I know Rick and I have talked about doing something on a stream. And also, if we could get someone like Daniel Ibanez, if we could get a few of these other artists that are maybe on YouTube just to hang for a little bit, you know. I know a few of my old art directors could be on here, take Q&A from chat. But like, we can open this thing can open wide open, man. It can, yeah. Since we're streaming multiple times every single week, we can make some stuff happen, you know. Oh my goodness, look at that. And right on time. Look at that. Marco resubbing 32 months in a row. What a baller. What is that, 3 years? Yeah, almost 3 years sub on Twitch. Insane, man. But yeah, so, and I do have to show it off real quick. So the people that are just now watching, let me show you the new fancy stuff. You see this, the chat window and all this stuff. If I come back down to the art stream, boom. Look at that smooth transition, dude. Oh my gosh. Now we got chat at the bottom. Now we got the stuff up top. Oh, and then we're going to come back over here and then bam. Oh my goodness. It's so professional. No more screens going on top of screens, going on top of stuff. It's less clunky. It's way cleaner. You know, I appreciate that. Make it a better experience for everybody. So yeah, we'll be playing some games tomorrow. I don't know what. We might make ourselves laugh and play like Monster Hunter or Elden Ring or something. I know someone in chat asked me to play Yu-Gi-Oh! We'll play some Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm about the heart of the cards, baby. We can do it. So yeah, guys, thanks so much for hanging out. I think I'm gonna call it here. Fun 3-hour stream. Hope you guys learned a little bit. I learned a little bit, especially playing around with the Rebelle settings, trying to get that stuff situated the way I like it. But I think we found some good stuff, some good knife edge stuff, some impasto, but not overwhelming. We turned the levers down a little bit, gave us some nice stuff. But yeah, the paint and blend mode, working great. Yeah, I highly recommend it. Just find a cool, simple picture, whether it's a still life, a piece of fruit, that type of thing. Go into Rebelle and just make it happen. Just start playing around with stuff, and I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised with how intuitive and easy it is to kind of make that thing look like a painting, you know? I mean, you're painting, so it's going to look like a painting. But that is my time. Oh yeah, dude, we're going to do some co-op for sure. And I've been having your stream on in the background. Everyone, if you're on Twitch, go check out nerdinthebay_OTG. One of my best friends on the planet. Dude is a baller, plays amazing fighting game. He has like, I don't know what your rank is on Street Fighter now, but dude's a master rank player, ridiculous. Variety streamer, plays all sorts of stuff. A lot of fun to hang out. And yeah, we're gonna do some co-op stuff soon. I also, by the way, in Discord, Marco, send me the link back to the OTG Discord. I want to join back for your guys' Friday night stuff. I may not be able to live stream it, but I would like to be there, get those practice reps in, because you guys are freaking good. I think they're all masters rank on multiple characters and stuff. It's ridiculous. But hey, it's a great way to go get my butt kicked and learn, and, you know, lose 62 matches in a row, but get something out of it. We'll do that. But yeah, guys, yeah, and you probably saw over this way, mixed chat here. So we got the chat for both YouTube and Twitch right on screen. You're not going to miss out on anything if you watch the video on demand. You're going to see everything all at once, and that's part of it. But yeah, going to keep tweaking away at this stuff. Going to keep streaming for you guys. A lot of fun. But that is my time. I'm going to get out of here, go eat something before I get the kids from school and daycare and all that stuff. But I will be back online tomorrow, probably around the same time, maybe a little earlier. And we'll play multiple hours of some games, kind of see what nonsense we get into. I wonder if it would be funny to play like a Monster Hunter, hear me yell at it, do a first time playthrough button. That way people can come and make fun of me. That'd be fun. Grown man child gets scared at Monster Hunter. Like, that's what the title should be. It'll be fun. But anyways, that's my time. You guys are awesome. Take care. Talk to you tomorrow. Peace.